To what extent is the coronavirus nature pushing back on human overpopulation? This is a thought-provoking conversation. Check it out. Ding the bell. Leave your comments. Share it with your friends, and please subscribe to our channel. In Minneapolis. Hey, Kim, what's up?
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
I am amazed at the amount of people who don't understand a problem that we have. It's population. And the studies have been done, and what we're experiencing around the world is part of the problem. We cannot continue to add an infinite number of people to a finite source, which is the Earth. We're using the resources. We're putting to death all kinds of the anthropocene, the extinction of animals and species. And this coronavirus is probably somewhat of nature's culling of the herd, as you were, to take out some people because there's too many, and we just can't handle the amount of people.
Well, at the very least, it's an indication that the human population has grown so large that we're reaching into areas where humans have never been before, pulling out animals, killing them, and eating them. This is how SARS started. This is how MERS, well, actually MERS seems to have jumped to camels, and this is how Ebola started. And several of those philo or, the thread-like viruses, I forget the actual scientific name. But yeah, Kim, I don't disagree with you. I mean, let's just look at the numbers. When Jesus was walking the earth, there were 250,000 people in the entire planet. We were on all 5 continents, but there was 250,000 people. In 1800, the year that Thomas Jefferson was sworn in as president, we hit 1 billion people for the first time in the history of the world. So 600,000 years of human history gets us to 1 billion people in 1800. The second billion only took 130 years. The year Franklin Roosevelt was sworn in 1932, we hit 2 billion people. 2 billion. Population of the United States was only in the neighborhood of 100 million. 30 years later, when John Kennedy was sworn in, we hit our 3rd billion. So now we're adding a billion in 30 years rather than 130 years. John Kennedy's sworn in 1960. We're at 3 billion. The next 4 billion took only 14 years, 1974. 5 billion took only 13 years, 1987. 6 billion took only 12 years, 1999. And now we're well into 7 billion people. It has slowed down in the 2010s. Population growth has slowed down. Some of that is due to war. Some of it is due to disease. A lot of it is due to the economic stress that Americans are not even having families now because everybody's in debt because of Reaganomics. But, I get your point, and I agree. And I think, frankly, the non-fossil fuel carrying capacity of this planet is probably 1 billion people at the most. And, what it's going to take to get us there, yeah, I've read Malthus, and he doesn't say, it's a giant crest. He talks about these cycles that have to do with food and famine and things like that, and population. And there's a lot to it. We do have an overpopulation problem, not so much in the United States, but around the planet. And the best way to solve this, by the way, the best way to reduce the growth rate of our population is to educate women and girls and give them political power in countries where they don't have it. And to stop people like those right-wing crazies men in the United States who think that women and girls, the girls shouldn't even be going to school. I mean, you've got prominent Republicans saying that women should never have been given the vote, should not have any say over their bodies. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Mike Pence shutting down Planned Parenthood in Indiana when it was the only place you could get tested for HIV, and then he had an HIV explosion. This is how stupid these people